Hallo Freunde, hello friends, my name is Denis Lifensev. Welcome to my channel about cross-cultural communication. Normally, I like to say a couple of introduction words, but today I want to tell you about German style of communication. So, let's get straight to business. To understand better how to communicate with our German friends, business partners or colleagues effectively, I've asked several questions to my German colleague Nicole. Nicole is a professor of international business working on cross-cultural topics and researching intercultural intelligence. She has been working at the University of Southern Denmark in Odense for more than 4 years and has been working at various other places all over the world beforehand. Nicole is an active participant of several famous international projects such as X Culture and Globe. So, let's enjoy this extremely professional, useful, informative and truly German presentation.
Being asked about 3 words to describe the Germans, the first thing that comes to my mind is directness. In evaluation sessions of lectures, I have sometimes received the feedback to be intimidating to international students. As I see myself as a very positive and friendly person, this was a full surprise to me. However, thinking about it, I guess that this may have to do with my German way of communication. German communication is direct. We explicitly say what we mean, even if the receiver of the message may not like it. To a German, this is perceived as good communication. Second, I perceive the Germans to be efficient. And this is also feedback that I receive from international collaborators. I think that we are good at structuring and bundling tasks, and that we have a strong sense of duty. We stick to timelines that are outlined in detailed plans, which often enables an efficient and streamlined workflow. This is highly valued in a German setting. An Arab colleague of mine recently laughed a lot when he learned that Germans use the word a rocket as a term for an exceptionally beautiful woman. Finally, I perceive Germans as very reliable. During a holiday trip to Thailand, I once had no money with me to pay a boat trip. Yet learning that I was from Germany, the captain had no issue in taking me along. He relied on me coming back to pay the bill, without asking me to leave any security. Of course, I did come back and pay. So it seems that other nations may have the same positive impression about us, in this regard at least. Talking a bit more about communication style, I would like to refer to the framework of Erin Meyer. She has written an exceptionally good book. She describes global communication styles along 8 dimensions that have to be interpreted in relative terms. And the placement of German style fits my own experiences. The Germans are relatively explicit in their communication, as indicated. We say what we mean and mean what we say. We provide direct negative feedback and do not avoid confronting others if we do not agree. When doing my first presentations at international conferences, I was positively surprised how much the international community loved my work. Yet probably, I did not notice that many colleagues formulated their suggestions for improvement in a more implicit, indirect fashion. Furthermore, when it comes to persuading others, Germans are supposed to favor principles over applications, and this is true for me as well. In evaluating presentations of concepts and ideas, I like to understand how solutions have been developed and whether the methods have been applied correctly. Rather than going straight to the point, I prefer arguments to be built up and to understand the mechanisms that relate A to B. While examples are interesting, I prefer a focus on the principles. This may be irrelevant information for my students. Therefore, my first set of recommendations of working with Germans are to not feel offended by direct negative feedback, to be as explicit as possible in communicating, as implicit messages may not be received. And, in giving presentations, make sure to add information on methods and explain the mechanisms behind a solution. Erin describes the Germans as having a relatively consensual decision-making process, which I have never perceived like this. But yes, it is common to be involved in decisions, and it is fine to make proposals to your supervisor. Currently working in Denmark, I perceive myself as rather top-down, and I must acknowledge that I sometimes miss a more active decision-making from a leader. In addition, hierarchies might be more relevant in other cultures, but they definitely matter in a German context. That is, you would not ask the CEO of the firm to go for a joint lunch if you are several levels below. While in an international context, Germans know that it is common to use the first name in conversations. Be careful. Switching the language, you would not continue using the first name. I have had situations in which I was in a virtual meeting with a client of mine, calling her Johanna. Having a one-to-one phone call 5 minutes after the joint international meeting, we were talking to each other using the last names again. Also, if communicating across teams, it would surely not be appropriate to delegate a task to a team member who you do not supervise yourself without agreement of the other supervisor. In projects with clearly specified tasks among the members, it is fine to directly fix things with a person being responsible for doing a certain job. Putting the supervisor CC in an email has a meaning. For instance, if someone is not working as you want him or her, you would put the supervisor CC to signal this to the higher level. In the context of Project Globe, we compiled a worldwide survey. The programming was centralized with a team of programmers from a relatively more hierarchical culture. As the country co-investigator for Denmark, I was asking the programmer to implement some changes in the Danish version. I wondered about him not acting upon my mails. I waited quite some time before deciding to put the Globe director CC in my reminder, because I did not want to bring him into trouble. However, noticing the cultural backgrounds, it would have been the right way to start delegating the task via the director and not approaching the programmer directly. Let's look at trust. I start trusting my colleagues if I see that they are doing a good job and are working on their tasks. I do not feel a need to first create a personal relationship with a new colleague or business partner. In contrast, I prefer getting to the job right away. Though I can enjoy a joint dinner or lunch, I do not perceive this as an essential part to create a good work relationship. Yet, as I know that individuals from a culture that is more leaning towards relationship-based trust may perceive this as disrespectful, I try to engage in some socializing in work relationships. Finally, I'm fulfilling the stereotype. I like planning ahead. Deadlines and milestones that are agreed need to be kept. Some of my PhDs seem to not love this as much as I do. Though Denmark is not so far away from Germany on this scale, I have noticed that my colleagues apply much more flexibility to, for instance, rearranging work meetings, due to, from a German perspective, rather irrelevant reasons. I'm still adapting to it. Hence, let me outline some further recommendations if working in a German business context. Be careful of not behaving too informal in a German business context. Formal dress code and formal communication are of relevance to make the right impression. Feel free to initiate socializing events with German colleagues. They will be open to it. Yet do not expect them to engage a lot into more informal relationship building with you. Finally, not keeping deadlines and not showing up on time for a meeting is seen as very inappropriate. Even if you are 5 minutes late, notify your business partner about the delay and provide a good reason for it. Almost all topics are fine for a small talk in business situations. Common topics are the weather, the traffic, holidays, food, cars, and for males, surely football. In contrast, I guess it is obvious that initiating a conversation on Germany's history during World War II is not creating a comfortable atmosphere for the German counterpart. In addition, I would not recommend directly asking for income earned or talk a lot about what you may have spent on this or that luxury item bought. You may be perceived as a show-off. I know that other nations often perceive German words as rather long. While this may be seen as complex, it is an easy and convenient concept to a German. Reiserücktrittsversicherung is such a word. Having a long tradition of risk aversion, the Germans engaged a lot into formal rules and regulations. A German comedian once outlined that the Germans may book an adventure trip, but only with a Reiserücktrittsversicherung, a travel cancellation insurance. Otherwise, it would be too risky. Feel free to get in touch with me in the case of any questions.
Vielen Dank, Nicole. Thank you very much. I'm sure your students must enjoy all your classes. And thank you guys for watching my channel. Please feel free to ask your questions in comments. And sure, you are more than welcome to watch other videos at my channel about different national communication styles. Stay tuned. Tschüss.